50 former U.S. intelligence officials signed a letter saying that you should avoid The Daniel Natal Show. As you know, I've been reading that UN document that they put out regarding the climate change conference that they're having in mid-November. In it, around page 108, they complain about books and articles on science-based topics and how they're getting progressively more emotionalistic in their use of language. They write, "Since the 1980s, there has been a reversal in a trend dating from the mid-19th century of rational language dominating sentiment-laden language in fact-based argument." They then show a graphic entitled "The Great Reversal from Rationality to Sentiment in Fact-Based Argument." While they pretend like this is some obstacle to their convincing people about their position on global warming, in reality, they're the ones who caused the change. You'll notice that there's a big change around 2012. What also happened in 2012? The legalization of propaganda in America. Foreign policy rights. U.S. repeals propaganda ban. Spreads government-made news to Americans. In it we read, "For decades, a so-called anti-propaganda law prevented the U.S. government's mammoth broadcasting arm from delivering programming to American audiences. But on July 2nd, that came silently to an end with the implementation of a new reform passed in January. The result, an unleashing of thousands of hours per week of government-funded radio and TV programs for domestic U.S. consumption, and a reform initially criticized as a green light for U.S. domestic propaganda efforts." So Barack Obama basically turned what had once been considered a weapon of war against Americans. It was at that time period that we saw a tidal shift away from facts to feelings. Why? The modus operandi of propaganda is irrational emotions, overblown sentiment. Thus it tends to use emotionalistic words rather than logic, facts, or evidence. Around 2012, the government was panicked by the Occupy Wall Street protests. And right on cue, the mainstream media was charged with flooding the culture with cries of racism, to get working-class blacks to fight working-class whites. Instead of the 99% fighting the 1%, they were encouraged to attack each other, with news stories suddenly flooding the airways with phrases like white privilege. One researcher did a data aggregation search to see how the media cycle was used to promote such new phrases as diversity and inclusion, whiteness, critical race theory, unconscious bias, and so forth. In summation, it's galling to see the United Nations pretend as if the media language shifted from rational to emotional based spontaneously, as if the oligarchical class whose interests they represent weren't the ones who did it. They want you to believe that this level of discourse was dumbed down for no reason at all, that it just happened, randomly. When the news leaves a bad taste in your mouth, luckily, there's the Daniel Natal Pez dispenser. It gives out only red pills, as does the New American Magazine. Get your subscription today.